Hansel and Gretel. Once upon a time, on the quiet edge of a small village surrounded by deep forests and rolling hills, there lived a poor woodcutter with his two children, Hansel and Gretel. Their house was small and old, with a roof that creaked in the wind and walls that had heard many whispered worries. Life had not been kind to them. Food was scarce, work was hard to find, and every day felt like a careful balancing act between hope and fear. Still, inside that tiny home, there was warmth whenever Hansel and Gretel laughed together. Hansel was clever and observant, always listening more than he spoke, while Gretel was brave in her own quiet way, with a heart full of courage she did not yet realize she had. At night, when the fire burned low and shadows danced on the walls, the children could hear their father and stepmother speaking in hushed voices. The worries of adults have a way of slipping through even the thickest walls, and Hansel listened carefully, his young mind trying to make sense of words like hunger, winter, and survival. He heard the fear in their voices and felt a tight knot form in his chest. Gretel, lying beside him, sensed his unease and held his hand, trusting her brother without fully understanding why. One night, Hansel heard something that made his heart race. Their stepmother, worn down by hunger and worry, suggested that the children be taken deep into the forest and left there, believing they would have a better chance than staying at home where there was not enough food. Their father protested weakly, his voice heavy with sorrow, but fear has a way of silencing even the kindest hearts. Hansel lay awake long after the voices faded, staring at the ceiling, his mind racing. He knew he had to protect his sister. Quietly, he slipped out of bed and went outside under the pale moonlight. The night air was cold, but the moon was bright, lighting the ground with a silver glow. Hansel filled his pockets with small white stones from the path near their house. Each stone felt smooth and cool in his hand, and with every one he picked up, his determination grew stronger. When he returned, Gretel looked at him with worried eyes, and Hansel whispered that everything would be all right, that he had a plan. She nodded, trusting him completely. The next morning they were led into the forest. The trees grew taller the farther they walked, their branches twisting together like giant arms. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, but the forest felt unfamiliar and endless. Their stepmother left them there with a small piece of bread and told them to wait. As their parents walked away, Gretel felt tears sting her eyes, but Hansel stayed calm. Step by step, he dropped the white stones along the path, marking their way home. When night fell and the forest grew quiet, Hansel took Gretel's hand and followed the shining stones back through the trees. The moonlight made them glow like tiny stars, guiding them safely home. Their father was overjoyed when he saw them, and for a short while, hope returned to the little house. But hardship did not disappear, and hunger returned stronger than before. Days later, the children were taken into the forest again. This time, Hansel had no stones, only a piece of bread. He crumbled it carefully, dropping pieces along the path, believing it would guide them home just as well. But bread is no match for hungry birds, and by nightfall the trail was gone. Lost and afraid, Hansel and Gretel wandered through the forest. The trees seemed to whisper, and shadows stretched long and strange. Gretel's fear grew, but Hansel held her close, speaking softly, reminding her to be brave. They walked until their feet ached and their stomachs growled, until finally they stumbled upon something so strange they thought they were dreaming. In a small clearing stood a house made entirely of sweets. The roof was covered in frosting, the walls were built of gingerbread, and the windows were made of clear sugar that sparkled in the sunlight. For children who had known hunger for so long, it felt like a miracle. Carefully at first, they broke off tiny pieces, tasting sweetness they had almost forgotten existed. That was when the door creaked open. An old woman stepped outside, bent and smiling, her voice sugary sweet. She invited them in, offering warm milk and soft beds. Hansel felt something was wrong, but hunger and exhaustion clouded his thoughts. Inside, the house was just as magical, filled with cakes and candy. That night, they slept deeply for the first time in days. But morning brought fear instead of comfort. The old woman was not kind. She was a witch who lured children into her house to trap them. Hansel was locked in a cage and fed sweets to make him grow fat, while Gretel was forced to clean and cook. Each day, the witch checked Hansel's finger, believing it was growing thicker. Hansel, clever even in fear, held out a small bone instead of his finger. The witch's poor eyesight fooled her, and Hansel bought himself time. Gretel watched everything quietly, her fear slowly turning into determination. She remembered all the times Hansel had protected her, and she realized that now it was her turn to be brave. She listened, observed, and waited. One day, tired of waiting, the witch decided to cook Hansel anyway. She ordered Gretel to check if the oven was hot enough. Gretel pretended not to understand, asking the witch to show her. As the witch leaned forward, Gretel gathered every bit of courage she had and pushed her into the oven, slamming the door shut. The house fell silent. Hansel and Gretel stood still, hardly believing what they had done. Then Hansel was free, and they hugged each other, laughing and crying at the same time. They searched the house and found treasures the witch had stolen over the years. Filling their pockets, they knew they could finally go home. The forest no longer felt frightening. It felt like something they had survived. With courage and clever thinking, they found their way back. When they reached their father's house, he ran to them with tears in his eyes. Their stepmother was gone, and the house felt lighter, warmer. With the treasures, they never went hungry again. But more important than gold, Hansel and Gretel had gained something far greater. They had learned to trust their minds, their courage, and each other. They grew older, stronger, and wiser, always remembering the forest, the fear, and the bravery it took to survive. They knew life could be difficult, but they also knew they were capable of facing it. And so, the story of Hansel and Gretel reminds us that even in the darkest moments, courage and cleverness help you survive. When fear surrounds you, think wisely, stand bravely, and never forget the strength inside your heart. Moral: courage and cleverness help you survive.